Hey everybody, it's Stan here again. This is, I think, my 6th video on symptoms, so they're about 15 minutes each. So that's an hour and a half talking about symptoms, and I probably won't get done in this video. So I just pick right up where I left off. The next one I had under mental type issues was difficult to just learn certain things. And again, keep in mind it's the level of how toxic you are or how this is affecting you or somebody else, Like I would shy away from certain things. I just couldn't handle it. And you're going to argue back and say, well, that's just the way people are. Well, not when you've got, multiple other symptoms too, So anyway, just keep that in mind. Acute toxicity, I will probably maybe do a separate video just on this. Personally, I was toxic chronically for many years from amalgams, in my opinion. I also had about 11 or 12 other metals in me. I'll talk about that in other videos. But I also was exposed at one time, I won't go into details right now, in an acute way. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was really messed up for about 3 months. Fortunately, I was young enough. I think I had enough of a detox system. I did all the kind of right things without knowing what I was doing. I was just desperate, reacting to the symptoms, and I got out of it. And, now I'm wondering if I'm damaged from it, because I don't think there's anybody that can say without a doubt that this stuff doesn't somehow damage you in permanent ways, in certain ways. So talk about that down the road too. But acute toxicity, literally, I mean, you think you're losing your mind. Look up Mad as a Hatter. I believe that's the right way to type it. People that made hats years ago, Mercury was used in the process, and many of those people kind of went insane, literally. Okay, so when you think about symptoms, I already talked about schizophrenia, bipolar. People did become, literally mentally ill and insane from working around this stuff. So what if you have just enough leaching out of your teeth to make you feel just about really, really insane? You know what I mean? And it does build up over time. So keep those things in mind. Cognitive functions are definitely impaired every which way you can think of. I'll just leave it at that. You can fill in the blanks. So moving into emotional symptoms, again, there's a million of them, but and I may have these in the wrong category, but first one I popped into my head was just relationships. In past groups I was in, anytime somebody would make a comment, hey, how's everybody doing with relationships? Whether it's boyfriend, girlfriends, or family, whatever, it drew the most response from people as far as comments. And the sad thing is, most of us that are sick like this, nobody understands us. Most people think we're hypochondriac. We can't possibly have all these things wrong with us. And then the thing is, too, while we're trying to figure out what's wrong with us, every day you have another set of symptoms and you're wondering what in the world is going on with me. This is ridiculous. For me, it was, in my late 20s, after my acute exposure I just talked about, and getting worse in my 30s and then really bad around early 40s. You're wondering, until I really knew what it was, I'm thinking, is this how you get old? And I thought, my God, I won't make it to 50. And I looked at my parents who were in their 50s at the time, or whatever, 60, I guess. And I thought, how do they do it, Then I realized what was really wrong with me and, started connecting all the dots. So, the other big thing I need to say here, and I sorry, no disrespect to anybody, whatever, but if one person is ill with this in a family, it's very likely they are not alone in that family. I talked to many people. I'll just use an example that comes to my mind. A person I know that pretty high strung, ADHD, has all these those kind of issues, okay, and digestive issues and other issues, and they have amalgams. And then they have a family member who is bipolar, and then they have a mother who has got anxiety issues, okay. All this passes from generation to generation, from mom to baby. Mom passes the toxicity to the baby. And babies are born with issues. The system calls it genetic issues. Maybe it's not completely genetic. So the sad thing is this, I believe this is totally true. What's really sad about it is the people in the family that don't understand that. It's usually somebody in the family that wakes up, finds out the truth, says, oh my God, I know what's wrong with me. Then they try to help everybody else around them, and nobody wants to listen to them. That's kind of partly why I started these videos. If anything, it'll be my legacy. I'll leave it there for my family or whoever to refer to, because I do know people that are close enough to me and have amalgams, could end up as they get older with issues, and they're going to want to know what to do about it. So hopefully I can leave that for people, when the time comes. Jumping ahead, I'm already into 6 minutes and I hardly said anything here, but it's important stuff to say, okay? Not feeling happiness. This was huge for me. When I started a detox and the feeling, the emotion of happiness came back, I had not felt that or known what it was for probably 30 plus years. I raised my kids not feeling that. Married, I'm now divorced. Did all this play a role in it? I have no doubt it did. In many ways. But when you feel that happiness the first time, it's an amazing, surreal type experience. All those years not feeling it, I'm looking at people's houses and, they all seem happy, and how are they happy? Like, how do you do that? And it wasn't that I was unhappy. I just had no feeling, I guess that's the way to put it. Post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, another big one. Very, really bothered by this because, again, it's a label the system uses. Every time I see a suicide, young people, why, come on, young people, really? Middle age, okay, you could say it's stress of life and all that. Yeah, it's definitely stress of life, but when you've got heavy metals in you, that stress of life is way over the top. And again, I'm speaking from my experience, having detox now. Stress doesn't bother me hardly at all in the ways it used to. Okay, so I hate when I hear doctors say stress because it's a cover for everything. And again, look for root cause. Doctors, if you're listening to this, look for a root cause. Root cause, okay? I'm an engineer. I look for root causes. We don't just get stressed. Things cause the stress. Yes, daily life, but that's to be expected. The human body wasn't designed to not be able to handle daily life things, okay? Okay, I'm going to beat that one to death. I have to move off from that. The suicidal thoughts part, it's perceived as a casual thought, like, oh, geez, I might do that tomorrow. Maybe that'll solve all my problems. You don't feel like you're doing something that isn't so great and potentially ending your life and, hurting a lot of people indirectly by doing that. It's the mercury that makes you think that way. Okay? It's definitely a symptom. Many people that I know have talked about it. Actually, somebody used this casual thought comment, and I really liked the way they put it because I couldn't describe it any better myself. I used to have those thoughts. I knew it was mercury, so I would never entertain this, and I would never entertain it anyway. I'm not going to let anything in life get me that bad. I hope everybody else is strong that way. And I'm not saying I'm strong, but people are way stronger than they think they are. And, we have a wonderful life here. We shouldn't be sick through most of it. So hopefully this will help people. Again, think of all the military people, the veterans. I think I talked about this already. I did run into a young girl who was a veteran of the Army. She was detoxing. She would start telling me about it, looking like would I understand what she was saying. And I told her at one point, no, I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. You're 100% spot on what you're doing. And she looked at me and started crying. She goes, you don't think I'm crazy? She goes, I tell this to everybody. Nobody listens to me. I really think this is what's wrong with all of us. And blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I do too. And, keep spreading the word. And she said, I will, And anyway, so just a little story there. Crying for no reason. Yeah. Just tears out of nowhere. It's a symptom. Talked about anxiety already. Anxiety levels can get very, very bad from the metals. You know, the metals cause inflammation. Inflammation causes all kinds of weird feelings inside of us. Panic attacks is just another variation of anxieties. There's no doubt I had panic attacks. You know, I would, you know, lose my breath and heart racing and weird feelings in my stomach, like numb feelings and things like that, depending on how toxic I was. Obsessive compulsive disorder, there's no doubt OCD is related. My sister, again, I talked about earlier, she was schizophrenic. She had depression, and she had really bad OCD. I know a lot of people, OCD, and they have amalgams. So, you know, it's an easy connection. I already mentioned depression. All you doctors out there, all your moms or people, you know, taking pills for depression and thinking I'm supposed to be depressed and, oh, I'm so depressed. Well, all I can say is when you detox yourself, you can handle life way, 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 way better. And the depression is not the same as what you feel like when you have metals. It's a different kind of intense, deep, like physically changed, altered, cellular level depression, okay, than just being kind of down and sad like we all get. It's just a natural human emotion, but the metals makes it where you just can't get out of bed in the morning type thing. And when you add in all the other symptoms, you know, adrenal fatigue and aches and pains, you know, no wonder you feel depressed. You know, you just feel terrible. Feeling of gloom and doom, sadness, overreacting to people in typical life events. I mean, I did a lot of that. I still do to some degree. So, you know, I don't know, maybe I do have to get a follow-up hair test, which I never did because I kind of felt so good I didn't want to bother with it. But I'm going to do it just for the data. It'd be very interesting if I ever remember to cut my hair when I'm at the barber and collect the hair. I'll talk about hair tests too. That's one of the best, quickest ways to get an idea where you are with levels. Your mind running and won't shut off. Okay, I used to have that a lot. Now I don't at all. It's like my mind is just still. So I know it's definitely a metal issue. Feeling like we're living in a bubble or some bubble or alternate reality. A lot of people have a lot of really cool ways of describing it, better wording than me, but that's my way. I feel, you know, you go through life every day, you're doing all your daily things, you're looking at other people enjoying life and going out to lunch and going to parties and, you know, talking on the phone and this, that, and the other thing, and you're just in your own little world, kind of like a hermit almost. I mean, literally, it can get to that point where, I'm going to write that down, where we actually live like a hermit, you know, and think about the people you've seen in your neighborhoods, especially like maybe older people, you know, just living all by themselves and never come out and whatever. You know, you could find people everywhere, and it's the first thing I think of. I see people in the streets, homeless, you know. Are they toxic, you know? You feel detached from others and life, and all I can say is when you detox, all that comes back. And it's very, very surreal. That's not even a good word to describe. Many times I would feel like my extremities feel like they're detached. You know, like I would feel like I could see my hand and my arm, but it would feel like I don't have an arm there. Very weird to describe. I would move my hands, you know, open and close my hand, but I don't know how I was doing that. You know, I just felt, you just feel detached. I'm up to 14 minutes, so I'm going to probably have to end it right here. As you can see, I'm not getting too far with these, but hopefully this stuff's helpful, what I'm explaining, and I'll continue on in the next video. Thank you.